What is going on, ladies and gents? Peezy here with the Go-To Gamers, and I'm gonna call this new series Storytime with Peezy. You guys don't know, probably don't know. I like to write, and I have a bunch of working titles, and I figured a fun way for me to go ahead and maybe try to progress into more writing out of these short stories that I write is I'll read them during one of the gameplays, and we could vote to keep the story going, or we could vote to change the story. So I have a cool story here. I think it's a pretty good start. If you guys want me to continue at the end of this video in the comments, make sure you like the video. Make sure you leave a comment, tell me to keep going. If you don't like it, still leave a like and leave a comment saying, you should change the story. Give me an idea for a story if you don't want me to continue. Anyways, I kind of have like 3 pages here. There's only a 6-minute video. I'm already a minute in. I don't know if I'll be able to finish it. And this is like my 10th time doing this commentary. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do this again. So hold on one second, guys. Okay, this story is a working title. Maybe you guys can help me figure out one. Let's get into it. I sat in the dark, rocking back and forth, trying to keep quiet as to not wake the others in the house. Frankly, I wouldn't even call it a house to begin with. It's merely a shack made by the hands of my father and me, thrown together in a rush while we still had daylight overhead. I can still remember the day and think about it often, probably because it was one of the last memories I had of my father before he disappeared while out to get us supper. I still blame myself for not going out with him that day, but I was so exhausted I could barely stand. My father insisted that I stay home and get some rest. He told me he wouldn't be long. He said he was just going down to the stream to see if he could catch a couple of fish and then check the traps for any small critters that had stumbled into them. The stream was only a half a mile or less from where our shack was, so I didn't give much thought to it. Plus the ground was clear for the most part, no trees or tall grass to obstruct his path back home should he have to flee in a hurry. But when what seemed like forever had passed and my father still hadn't returned, I started to worry. I was getting ready to go out and look for him when my mother insisted that I stay. He would be fine. He would probably be on his way back as we speak. I knew something was wrong. Why hadn't he returned yet? My mother begged and pleaded for me to stay. She said she couldn't bear to lose us both. How would they survive? She ushered me back into bed, pulled up the covers, and turned out the lights. Daylight came when it seemed like no time. I must have been more tired than I had thought, because my eyes finally opened. The sun was already fully showing above the trees, and still my father had not returned. I got dressed and set out to look for him. I looked everywhere, and I still could not find him. Where could he have gone? What could have happened? Thoughts filled my mind as I broke down, falling into my knees. I couldn't help but blame myself. We all mourned for a few days, but couldn't do much else. It was just us out there. Things had to get done. If we didn't do them, no one would. Me being the only boy, only age 15, I had to assume the role as the head of the household. My mother had too many other things to worry about, and my sisters were younger than I, and had never gone into the woods with my father like I had. I knew almost all there was to know about the woods. My father had taught me all he could. He was a great teacher, leading by example most of the time. He told me I picked things up very quickly. Time passed since my father's disappearance, but still it seemed like only yesterday. I sat there in the chair. I saw a silhouette of a figure sit up and then get to its feet. "Are you about to set out for the day, honey?" she said tiredly. You could hear it in her voice. "Yes, mother," I said in a low voice. "Go back to bed. I'll be setting out soon. The sun hasn't even risen above the trees yet." We had no other way of telling time, really. All the power of any cable or battery had long since run out. I got up from where I'd been sitting and threw on a light coat. The morning air would be bitter, cold until the sun came up. I laced my shoes as I did most mornings and walked to the door. As I turned the knob, I looked back at my mother and 2 sisters and whispered, "I love you." "I love you too, honey. Be safe," I heard my mom reply softly, and her silhouette led back down and pulled the covers back on. I pushed the door open and stepped out into the cold morning, not knowing what would be in store for me that day. The sun was still far behind the trees, but it was already giving off a faint orange glow. I could tell it was colder than most mornings from the frost on the ground and the fact that my breath was actually visible. I started my way across the open field, leaving a track of footprints as I continued towards the edge of the woods. As I drew near to the tree line, I saw something on the floor. There in the frost was another set of footprints that seemed to have come from out of the woods and then headed back in. I slowed my pace and began to follow them. There seemed to be no real sense of direction in the prints. There wasn't a rhyme to the step. It seemed as if whatever made the prints couldn't decide to walk slow or fast. Some of the prints were even dragged along. That's when I knew it wasn't another human, or at least another alive. normally functioning one for that matter. The prints had come from what we were hiding out here in the middle of nowhere. What was hunting us? The zombies. Anyways, guys, that is all I have so far. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, this is a new series idea. I don't know how well it's going to work or how often I can get this out because it takes a little bit of time to write. So if you guys liked it so far, go ahead and leave a like and a comment telling me to keep going. Like I said before, if you didn't like it, I know it's zombies. It's kind of overplayed. If you don't like it, go ahead and leave a comment saying change the story, give me an idea. But always leave a like. If you guys are not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed this. It's kind of a new idea. I don't really think anyone else is doing anything like this. I like to write, so I figured it might be something cool to try out. Guess we'll give it a test and see how it goes. Anyways, guys, like I said before, this has been Peezy with the Go-To Gamers. If you liked it, leave a like and a comment. If you didn't, leave a suggestion. Tell me to move on. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. We really appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys later. Peezy out.